Welcome. My name is Robert Kintai, and I want to welcome you to the Truth Mastery Success Course intro called Getting Through Bad Situations. We've presented this short little audio video for you in order to talk about some basics about getting through bad situations that happen in our lives and kind of what defines that, and how we can help get through these tough times. So let's get right into it and look at it. So what is a bad situation? Well, to everybody it's something different. I used to think that it had to be something horrific or a bad crime or a death that occurred near you, to you, about you, and that very well may be the case, but to others it's something, it's simple, a parent leaving the household, or always feeling rejected. There's a lot of things that we as human beings consider a bad situation. So it doesn't have to be defined by some huge event. And in fact, a lot of times what I find is sometimes it's very small things that really affect people. So if that's the case, what we need to be able to do is we need to be able to recognize this, and then we have to figure out, how do we get past this bad situation? Now, you may not be able to change when it's going on. And I'm very well aware of that. If someone's got a gun to your head, do whatever it takes to get through that horrible time. I'm not saying that you can suddenly be the bionic man or woman and Superman and take the gun and tie up the criminal. It doesn't work that way. I understand that. And you're not responsible for that. And we got to be clear about that right now. But what you are going to be responsible for, as tough as it may be to hear, is what are you going to do once it's over? And that's always what it's about, because really that's where life is made or broke, right there in that situation, is once that ends. So if we have this bad excuse or the situation, does it give us an excuse? The answer is, for many of us, that when these bad situations go on, I know for me it was, my father. If you read my book, The Lies We Tell Ourselves, what happened with my father, not only the fact that, I come from a broken home, right? But my father, did some extraordinarily bad things, both to our family and outside of our family. And it was really tough to get over. And it became my excuse. And we're not talking about minor things here. I mean, I know there's plenty of you out there, you're from a broken home, so let's set that aside. We all know that affects us to some degree, or it has. But, we're talking murder here. We're talking, fraud and grand larceny and auto theft. I mean, my father did a lot, ripped off his business owner or his business partner. I mean, and that can be very traumatic on a 5-year-old kid, 6-year-old kid, seeing that. This is the way my life started out. And for many, many years, it became an excuse in life for me. Now, plenty of people smiled at me and gave it to me, said, well, yeah, I mean, I can understand. Your father was this, your father was that, he did this to your family. Oh, poor kid, right? And whatever your situation may be, maybe that's what's happening around you. And if you don't have somebody strong in your life that says, hey, snap out of it, maybe this video, this audio, maybe the book, The Lies We Tell Ourselves, maybe anything that we're trying to put out with the Truth Mastery will be that wake-up call, that shake-up, because you don't need any excuses in life, because you're going to work hard, and life's already going to be difficult enough. You're going to have a great mindset. Life's already going to be difficult enough. You don't need to give yourself any excuses in life. I hope you'll understand what I'm trying to say to you, is that what went on, went on. What was the past is the past, and what is your future can be your future, depending on how you make it. So how do you find power in a bad situation? The answer lies in the ability to pull through, when the situation's over. Once you realize that you made it through, you now can say, hey, I survived, but now it's time to thrive. That's how you find your power in it, because you had to have some kind of strength to get through this thing. Maybe it was some kind of crime that you were involved in, where you were held captive, or someone hurt you, or whatever it is. And mentally you put yourself in a place where you just did what it took to get through and to survive. And once you get through that, you go, hey, wait a minute, I did it. Yeah, it was horrible. Maybe you have some kind of physical scars, but you're not going to let the mental scars take you over. You're going to take and you're going to push through this, and you're going to figure out how to get through this bad situation, and you're going to learn how to thrive and find power in it. And that's what my book is all about. It's about finding the truth of your life, not just of a situation. It's about finding that power that can not only take you through that situation, but can bring you stronger through the other side of it. That's what I've had to do. I really have had to learn to take the lessons of my youthful life and grow from it and become powerful from it. Where for many years it was a weakness. For many years I was too weak to do too much about my own situation. That doesn't have to be your plight in life. You can do so much more if you'll just realize it. So what do we really have to do? Well, we have to learn to manage and grow from this bad situation, because nobody said it was going to be easy. We know that, it's called a bad situation. It's called tragedy for a reason, right? You could write a Shakespeare play from it, I'm sure. But I don't want to live in that area with you. That area is yours. It happened, and what came out of it came out of it. But now let's talk about where I do want to live with you at, and that is how are we going to take and become powerful from this bad situation? How are we going to take and grow from here and get everything we want out of life? And not just say, hey, I want to forget about it. It would be foolish to think that, hey, we're just going to forget about this bad situation. But I don't want you to sit there and dwell on it. I don't want you to sit there and feel bad about it or think that you're less of a person. Even from the most horrific things that we can imagine, you're not less of a person because something happened to you. If you're going to be less of a person, where that's going to occur is when you just sit there and do nothing about it. And I'm not talking about going after the person or having to seek revenge. It's not about that. It's about you growing personally. It's about you getting stronger. It's about you managing your life in the direction that you want it to go. So bad situations should define us in a good way. They should never define us in a bad way. And if you manage and grow from the situation, you're going to realize that once you get through this situation, this problem in life, and you create that solution, you're going to realize, hey, wait a minute, I got the power to get through almost anything in life. As long as you're breathing, right, you have the opportunity. And that's what the Truth Mastery Success Program is all about. That's what the lies we tell ourselves points out and lays out to you, that you can get through this and you can become stronger and better, happier and productive as much as you desire. So people will say, hey, Robert, do I have to fix the damage of what occurred? Well, let's first talk about physical. The answer would be yes. If you got a broken arm or leg, you've been shot, whatever, okay, that's the obvious. But do you have to go back and fix the damage that was occurred in order to move forward? My philosophy, my opinion is this, and I'm sure there's scholars and educators out there that are going to say that I'm wrong, but I'm going to tell you this right now. Reliving a situation that was bad is never going to take and move you forward. Now, if you've already been through something horrific, why do we want to go back and keep revisiting it? We may have to examine a few things to understand why our mindset is the way it is, and I believe in that. But we don't need a recount or a recap of what already has gone on. What we need is, we need to learn where we're at, and we need to learn where we want to go, and we've got to do what it takes to get there. You don't have to fix what went on to you. You can totally grow, you can totally thrive. There's so much that you can do out of this situation, but going back and reliving it is not the answer in my opinion, and I hope you understand what I'm saying. Okay? If they've taken you through some kind of mental trauma, well, what do you have to do? You have to reprogram your mind. You have to build your mindset back to where it was before that situation, if not stronger and better based upon what you went through. So no, we don't have to fix the damage. Now, it's not your fault unless you stop living. What you have to do right now is you have to get up and you need to get moving. Don't just sit there. Don't let somebody, take and chain you down by their bad deeds or by anything. It could be a hurricane that swept through and ruined everything in your home. Doesn't matter. Don't let something have control of you externally. Make it all internal. You're in control. You have the power. I point out in my book, about one of my favorite books and authors by Viktor Frankl. It's called Man's Search for Meaning. And what's incredible about that book is this. Victor was, a Jewish person that was taken, into a Nazi camp. You've heard plenty of stories, but what's unique about this story is Victor talks about mental strength. He talks about all these strong businessmen that were, he grew up around that were, big and rich and powerful. And the moment all that stuff was taken and they got thrown into this, this camp, he realized how weak they became overnight and how quickly they died. And he refused to become a prisoner, with his mind. You can have my body, but you can't take my mind. That's really what we're talking about here. Not only would I urge you to read my book, I'd urge you to get Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning. Phenomenal book, sold millions of copies, and probably has changed millions of lives. You can't read this book and sit there and feel sorry for yourself and not get up and get moving. So the damage is more mental than physical. And you may be sitting there right now scarred from head to toe. Maybe you were burnt. I don't know. Maybe you were beaten, whatever it is. And you're thinking, is this guy crazy? I can barely move. And I understand your pain because I'm not trying to take that from you on one hand. But let me tell you something. you can always repair to some degree. You can still, have full life even with, physical damage. But if mentally you are damaged and we do nothing about it, we're stuck. We're dead in the water. We're going nowhere. Okay? You have to understand that mental power needs to be restored. Physically, we'll do whatever we have to do once our body heals. Keep that in mind, that your damage is not the physical, it's the mental. So don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself if you're physically hurt. So what did I learn to do? A lot of people ask that. Well, let me tell you, these are 3 very important things that I had to learn to do. And by the way, the situation with my father wasn't the only one. But here's what I had to do. First I had to do is I had to remove the anger. How many of you are sitting there right now angry? I know I was. I know it was very easy for me on a daily basis to wake up and be angry, and each day built more and more and more anger. You have to remove the anger. That's what I had to learn to do. Second thing I had to learn to do is I had to learn to grow from my experiences. That which won't break you will make you stronger if you allow yourself to grow and learn from the experience. And the last thing you have to do, you have to learn to let go of the bad situation. The worst thing you can do is play it over and over and over and over and over in your mind. It's horrible. It's happened once, let's let it be. You have to learn from these experiences. So I want to thank you for your time. I hope that this, has been enlightening for you to some degree. Again, I'm not here to take away, what you've gone through. I'm not here to minimize anything. All this is about you and about your strength and your power and the way you look at things. So if you'd like to find out more, I'd love for you to go to www.truthmastery.com. I'd urge you to buy my book called The Lies We Tell Ourselves. And then if you'd like, contact us. There's a way to contact us on the site. There's a phone number to get a hold of us. And let us know how you're healing, how you're moving forward and getting stronger. My name is Robert Kintai. I'm the author and founder of Truth Mastery and the Lies We Tell Ourselves. We'd love to help you with some coaching, training, mentoring, or anything else that you might have in mind. Thank you very much, and here's all the best to you.